On this episode of Slainte, we head on over to the Wayfarers Ale Society in Port Williams, Nova Scotia. Home to some of the highest tides in the world and a heritage port of call from yesteryear, this dynamic group of intrepid craft beer explorers is charting a new course for what beer can be in a community. Today we visit the charming dockside in Port Williams, Nova Scotia. Residents here still remember when this inlet from the Minas Basin was a busy hub of trade and commerce in the Annapolis Valley. It's a calling that inspired members of the Wayfarers Ale Society to take up residence and establish a social nexus of their own. To find out how it all got started, I sat down with their head brewer, Det.
I'm the Chief Operating Officer, so I'm responsible for making sure the day-to-day operations proceed as they're supposed to. I'm responsible as well. I'm a brewmaster, so I'm also responsible for the brewing and bringing in materials and keeping everything running on a day-to-day basis.
So you make all this wonderful beer?
I do, with help of our cellar crew, of course. Jeremy, who unfortunately can't be here, does a great job for us and is really the workhorse behind all of this.
So how did this all begin? Did you know that you always wanted to be a brewer?
I always wanted to drink beer. And that's how it started out. Chris, who's the chairman of the Wayfarers Ale Society, and myself, our properties tee on each other. He got some chickens for his birthday from his wife. He always wanted pets. So then, of course, the chickens were going to come, but there was no chicken coop. I used to have a business in Ontario where we used to build sheds and cabanas and stuff like that. So we got talking about this, and I offered my expertise to help build a chicken coop. So we built the chicken coop and became great friends. It was a real success. Chris had always wanted to brew beer, and he'd been involved back in England in CAMRA, which is the real ale society there. He went to Ottawa for some meetings, met a guy in a bar, started talking about making beer. The guy said, "You got to get one of these machines." So he came back and without a word to anybody, bought this Braumeister, which is a German kind of semi-automated kettle. That arrived, and he said, "Would you like to make some beer?" And I said, "Would I?" Absolutely. So that's how we got started, and it's been going ever since. What started to happen as we started to make beer, we had more beer than we could drink, and of course, when you have beer and we're not allowed to sell it, beer's free, you start to get more and more friends. Well, we didn't think it was fair that we had to do all the work, so we wanted to enlist some other people, so we invented the idea of the Wayfarers Ale Society. You could join the society, become part of the brewing experience, brew your own beer, and then, of course, consume it. And, of course, that became quite a popular thing around the neighborhood.
The Wayfarers Ale Society sounded like a marvelous organization. To find out more, I then spoke with their chairman, Chris.
My role really as the chairman of the society is twofold. I kind of am involved, Saturday is really the day I'm involved in the brewery because I've got another job. Because I started this, I've been leading the vision of where we wanted to go, and I'm involved with the Wayfarers Ale Society, which of course overlaps and is slightly different from the Wayfarers Ale business. Two things are they do come together, overlap a lot, but they are separate items. So my job really is to kind of lead a vision, see what's going on in the broader picture. I survey the wider canvas, try and keep us ahead, and also keep us a little bit different and focused on the core life of what the society is, because we're not here just as a business to kind of, in a normal sense, make money. We're always glad if we can make money. But the truth of the matter is the society speaks of something of a higher order. It's seeking after something that people have been looking for millennia, really. And beer is a very old thing, and beer speaks of friendship, community, conversation that allows people to relax. And in many ways, the society was a reaction against the way in which the beverage and beer industry has got over the last 50 years. There's a kind of a way in which the beer industry became an industrial giant, and it lost its first love, which was about sharing in community with people and talking to people and just spending time with them. In an increasingly virtual world, where our interactions are over Facebook, Insta, Twitter, and everything else, then we're trying to recover that. And so this society started by people literally coming together and brewing together. Brewing takes hours and hours and hours. And in that time, you're not just checking your phone, you're actually talking to each other, discussing, learning about each other, discussing things. And of course, one of the problems we have, I think, in society today is we have very polarized views because people are able to post stuff to social media and make statements with an immediacy and not have the opportunity to eyeball each other and be reasonable and discuss and hear another perspective. So for us, making beer in the Wayfarers Ale Society wasn't just a group of hopheads who wanted to make beer. It's actually a group of people who came together to have a great conversation, and the beer making went along with that, and it facilitated it. It was really the mechanism by which we started to re-engage as humans one with another. The whole thing started actually when, I think you might have talked to Det about the chickens, but I was in a hotel in Ottawa and I found myself, strangely enough, at the bar one evening, and I was talking to a guy from Germany, and he said to me, if you want to make good beer in a small system, buy a Braumeister. So with gay abandon, I bought a Braumeister, and it arrived, and I knew things were going to go well because the guy who delivered it from UPS, when he delivered this huge big package, he gave me a thumbs up and said, I know what this is. And on that basis, plus one of the people who was involved with us to start with, Achel, who's a great friend of mine, he's a psychiatrist. And I asked Achel straightly, always important to seek medical advice, I asked Achel whether or not I was mad doing this. And he said, no, you're not mad, Chris. And on that basis, we went ahead. So that's part of the truth. Little aside. But no, we did. And Det and I then started making a chicken house together. And we were brewing beer when we were making a chicken house. And chickens actually are very underrated pets for all the animal lovers out there. But we were brewing beer, and it got us talking about things. So we put together the small brewery, and then more and more people, neighbors, got involved, and people were interested in finding out about, discovering about beer, because beer isn't just a liquid to buy in 2 4-packs to get down your neck and get drunk. Beer is really about conversation and community. And people were really craving getting together for an activity and learning about something. And beer was the ideal thing. And of course, at the end of the session of making it, you can drink the beer, so there's an added, it's better than woodworking in that regard.
Right? That's what I think.
Yeah.
Next up on Slainte, I sit down with some of the original members of the Wayfarers Ale Society. I find out about the mysterious one-eyed river hog and discover there's much more to this society than meets the eye. The Wayfarers Ale Society resides dockside in Port Williams, Nova Scotia, and was all started by Chris and Det and their love of good beer and good conversation. I was excited to find out more about the brews they make and what one could expect as a patron. To do this, I spoke with the Society's production manager, Jamie.
My role here at Wayfarers, I mostly oversee the operational side of things. So we have a brewer that will brew the beer, and then from there back, it's my role to oversee production in terms of kegs, cans, inventory management, cleanliness and quality assurance, and making sure that product is always available for our licensees and stores.
Jamie, what are your flagship ales here?
So we have probably 4 flagship ales that we've kind of started the business with. It's our Helene Blonde, we have our Ruby Red, we have our One-Eyed River Hog IPA, and our Thistledew Scottish Ale.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So who comes up with the names for these?
Sometimes it's a collection of thoughts that come together at the table. For those beers, our brewer has come up with a lot of the names for those. Yeah.
What would you say is the overall theme that you guys strive for here at Wayfarers?
In terms of beers,
Yeah.
We wanted to make our beer accessible for the vast majority of the public. So our view has been creating more mainstream beers that will appeal to the palate of a lot of people. So most of ours are not overly hopped, like you'll see some of the other breweries go with. So very accessible beers that appeal to a wide range of people.
The craft beer at the Wayfarers Ale Society sounded amazing, and I wanted to find out more about the stories behind some of their products. To do this, I sat down with the Society's tour director, Georgie.
Georgie, tell me about your role here at Wayfarers Society.
I am the tour director for the Society. I do arrange the tours for groups or just for individuals.
And do any of the beers have stories?
Oh, they all have stories.
Could you tell me a few of your favorites?
Well, my favorite is about our One-Eyed River Hog.
Oh, yes.
Now, the One-Eyed River Hog apparently is actually a creature that lives on the banks of the Cornwallis River.
Oh.
Now, he's a very shy creature, and he buries himself in the mud, and you very rarely see him. But if you do see him, it's an omen of good luck. Now, I've been told that when the builders were building our building, that they actually saw him. However, I'm a little concerned about that. I really don't know how many river hogs they were drinking that day.
So the more river hog ales that you have, the more likely you are to see the river hog.
Definitely.
Oh,
it is our
I see.
IPA, which has our highest alcohol content.
I see. Wonderful. What about some of the other beers? Do they have any stories as well?
As I said, well, we have our Thistledew, and our Thistledew is a Scottish ale. Now, the Scottish, we know, are quite frugal, and they are, they don't really like the English all that well. Now, in Scotland, they're too far north to grow their own hops.
Oh.
So their beer is mainly made of more malts and a variety of malts because they can grow lovely malts or lovely barley in Scotland, and they develop their malts, of course, for their whiskeys and that. So they have it's a more malty ale, and they would have to purchase their hops if they were going to be putting them in them. So they'd be purchasing from the English, who have wonderful hops.
Yes.
But they don't really want to do that. So we have a more malty beer.
Wonderful. Oh, I want to try that one too. And I think I'm definitely going to have to try the river hog.
Oh, the River Hog is excellent.
Next, I had the opportunity to sit down with another one of the Society's original members, their market coordinator, John.
So John, tell me about your role here at the Wayfarers Ale Society. What do you do here?
Well, what do I do? I guess one of the big things I'm looking at is more or less coordinating our markets. So we do a lot of farmers markets, and also looking at coordinating some sales.
Oh, wonderful. And how did you get involved in this?
I think we were just became friends. I knew Chris and Jamie, and just over time, they were starting this beer thing. It seemed kind of interesting, and it'd be a great thing to get involved with.
So you were a beer lover to start?
Yep, right.
Oh, okay. So they didn't like transform
Oh yeah, they
your
didn't just
whole-
force me into the thing.
No. That's good.
It's a great job because you actually not only just coordinate, but actually go to the markets. And farmers markets in Nova Scotia are just springing up everywhere, and they're just it's a real great spirit that's there. We do the Wolfville Farmer Markets every Saturday morning. We do another one in Windsor on Sundays. We're in Chester every Friday. We have a student this year, and I think it's a great job, driving the nice van around the province to the different markets. I think it's a great opportunity. We do hire this year. He's a student at Acadia, and through a co-op program with them.
Did you know when you first got involved that it would become as big as it has?
You always have that dream, I think, that it's going to be that, but that's kind of part in the back of your mind because you're just trying to get the basic everyday, we have to make that first batch of beer. And then, all right, then people like that, so we have to make some more. And then we have to make some more. And it just kind of gradually grows, and you get into it. And then we have great expectations now for things getting bigger, because you get inspired when you see all those successes. People love it, and I think what they like about it is that it's kind of a basic beer, mainstay type of thing. We talk about the Helene. That's a great one that you can drink. We just mowed the grass, for instance, we always tell them, where it's that great introductory craft beer, because a lot of people think the craft beers have to be super hoppy and that type of thing. People are looking for different things as well. We just came out with our Privateers 1882 beer, and that's going over really well. We've tried some different ones as well, sour beer, and people are responding. They're enjoying it. They enjoy it to see what's new, but they still like that. They still want to come and have that Helene and that River Hog and that Ruby.
And how have you found the community in Port Williams responding to your beer?
Community is great. I think it gives you an opportunity where if you live in Port Williams, you can just kind of walk here. It's a destination spot. That's what we're trying to make it to be. Sitting on that deck there and looking out over that wharf. And so many people will come in and they'll remember back in the 1930s and 40s with boats coming into that wharf and unloading apples, that type of thing. And that history seems to be there. And we've had people coming in just say, well, I can remember coming down here with my father or something. And so there's a history here, and now another reason to come back down to that wharf. And hopefully future development of that would be great.
Next up on Slainte. It's time for the tasting as I sit down with head brewer Det to sample some of the unique craft beer offered to the weary traveler at the Wayfarers Ale Society in Port Williams, Nova Scotia. Port Williams once boasted a bustling commercial port. Today, the Wayfarers Ale Society has taken up residence. After an exciting day discovering what the society was all about, it was time for this traveler to try some of the society's famed craft beer.
So which ones are we trying here today?
We're gonna go from the lightest to the darkest, and then finish with the cider.
Okay.
You'll find that if we started with some of the darker beers, we'd have a hard time appreciating the later ones.
Yeah.
So we'll start with our flagship. Our flagship is the Helene.
Okay.
It's a 4.2% alcohol. It's a Pilsner base. It's very easy drinking, very sessionable beer. It's also our most popular beer.
Oh, it smells lovely. It's got such a beautiful color to it, too. It's very light. Oh, that's lovely.
This is my go-to beer. This is the one I developed for myself. So.
Yeah, it's so, I don't even know how to describe it. It's so light on the palate, but yet it has a lot of flavor, but it doesn't overwhelm your senses or your palate. It's just this like a lovely breath of fresh beer. Can you say that?
I think you can. Absolutely. So we'll move over there to the Irish Red.
Okay.
The Irish Red is it's a very traditional red. Yeah.
It's pretty.
and people find it quite tasty, and it's very popular. We sell this one at the NSLC as well, and it's doing really well in its category. I really like it. It's a little bit more bitter than the other beer, and a little bit more alcohol, but very nice.
Yeah, the darker color is beautiful too. And where does the horse logo come from? Is it just a chestnut mare?
It's just a chestnut mare. That's exactly it. My daughter is a big horse aficionado. She's at a horse show this.
I see.
This weekend.
Love of horses
Yeah.
mixed with beer.
Yeah, that's it.
This one is really lovely. I'm just gonna grab another. Again, the beer is very light, which is really nice. Just a hint of, like a little bit more, I guess probably the hops there. A little hint of bitterness, but otherwise it's very smooth, kind of roasty, warm.
Yes, there's chocolate malt in there, which adds a lot of the color and some of the flavor.
Oh yeah, that's really lovely. Oh yeah, that's very nice. Ruby red.
Ruby red.
Ruby red.
Ruby ale.
Ruby ale.
Ruby ale.
Nice, nice.
Our next sampling is the Muddy Big Stout.
Okay.
So the Muddy Big Stout is named somewhat after the Cornwallis River here. But its claim to fame is oatmeal. Most of the time when oats are put into beer, it's been dehusked. And when they take the husk off, then oatmeal can tend to become very gummy. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. Right?
Yes.
So you have to really limit the amount of oats that you can put in a brew generally, either that or add rice hulls. We've been fortunate enough to source from a local malt house malted oats. So malted oats actually still have the husk on them, and we crack them the same way. So we're able to have a much higher percentage. So
Oh my gosh, it's almost black.
it's almost black.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
The other thing that we've done with this, to make it black, you use a very highly roasted malt.
It's earthy, very smoky kind of. I haven't even tasted it yet. I see you. I'm still smelling it.
I like it.
Oh yeah.
I like it. It's very easy drinking.
Oh my gosh, that's smooth. See, it's so silky. I would think that it was like nitrogenated, but it's not at all,
not.
right? It's just the regular. Wow. That's lovely. Yeah. All right. And what's this other guy?
Okay, well, this is the one-eyed river hog.
This is him, eh?
This is him.
Okay. What? Have you ever seen the one-eyed river hog?
No, I can't say that I've personally seen the
Okay.
one-eyed river hog, but others have.
Have.
Yes. It has hops added at 5 different stages during the brewing cycle.
Oh, wow.
It's heavily dry hopped.
Okay.
It's got a lot of it's got a lot of character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it looks fairly unassuming. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Big citrus right off.
When we are brewing this, or when we're filtering it, the whole brewery smells of hop.
Smells of hops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's got a nice flavor though. That's really nice. It is hoppy, but it's really not overwhelming. It's a lot of your beers have this lovely kind of softness to them, I find, which makes them very inviting, very welcoming beers.
Right.
And even for an IPA, I know a lot of people who really like that hop and they would love this. But I think this is actually really would be available to other people as well. Yeah, absolutely. And now, this is something I wasn't expecting. You guys have a cider.
We have a cider. We did a collaboration with Henniger's Farms. They're just across the river here, and they have an orchard, an apple orchard, 100 years old. And we got together and decided that we were going to make some cider.
I love it when the old orchards and the apples get used in Nova Scotia. Oh, that smells beautiful.
In the good old days, this is how they made it. They wouldn't have, if you were going to back sweeten a cider like this, you would do it at the time that you drink it.
Yes.
So one of the things we recommend when you go over to Henniger's and you like your cider a little bit sweeter, buy some cans and buy a bottle of their unfermented cider, and you just mix them and you get the perfect balance.
So what I love about this, I mean, it definitely is very dry, as you're saying. No, like practically, I can't taste the sweetness in it, but on the nose, it smells like a fresh apple blossom. Like it smells like when we apple blossom parade, stuff like that. Like to me,
Right.
it just smells like like an orchard, fresh in bloom. It's beautiful.
The Wayfarers Ale Society is a beautiful group of people who are not only creating great beer, but they're creating a new way of enjoying it. With an emphasis on community, connection, and the well-being of the human spirit, any weary traveler who finds themselves on the doorstep of the Wayfarers Ale Society can count themselves lucky, for they'll be in the company of some of the best folk and brew our province has to offer.